Alright, welcome back to Honored Madman for a quick little video about the reasons I think Radahn may have behind holding the stars at bay. Or imprisoning the stars, or waging war on the stars. Pretty much he's credited as just owning the stars. General Radahn, also known as the Star Scourge, was the son of Renalla, the Lunar Queen, and a being that may have been a science project by Queen Marika the Eternal, known as Radahn of the Golden Order. Radahn is often cited as the mightiest of the demigods, the strongest of the demigods, and all that. And from everything I can find about him, he seems to have been a pretty noble, warrior type dude. He did participate in the Shattering and tried to, conquer the capital, probably to be like Godfrey so he could attempt to be Elden Lord or something. But he was of course pushed back by the famous Veiled Monarch, also known as Margit the Fell, or Morgott, the Omen King, or, all of the above. But Radahn himself is most famously credited as having saved the town of Sellia, which was a Nox-built town of sorcery in Caelid, and fighting an unwinnable battle against an amputated Valkyrie using God mode cheats. But before all that, he famously learned gravity magic at Sellia from an alabaster lord to ride his horse after he had grown to an enormous size, because I guess that's what happens in this world when you get that powerful, you just start growing. I like to call it Japanese power scaling, but I don't know if that's a correct term. But it's basically where individuals are depicted as bigger versions of humans to indicate that they're more powerful. After learning gravity magic from an alabaster lord, he thanked his master and said, "Now I can wage war on the stars." He was directly quoted as saying that, according to a specific description on the spell. Now the bigger question is why? Why did he wage war on the stars? The first is the one a lot of people were saying right out the gate could be the reason, is that he was loyal to the Golden Order and all that, and that he was imprisoning the stars to weaken the Carrion family and sorcery in favor of the Golden Order and all that, because he was such a Godfrey fanboy. Now sure, he's cited as being, a big fan of Godfrey's and adopting the lion motif because of Godfrey, and, and viewing himself as sort of like a successor to Godfrey as the Lord of the Battlefield and all that. But beyond that, he doesn't use any Golden Order spells. He doesn't use, anything relating to Radahn or the Golden Order. I don't really think that he would be doing, such a big old thing for the Golden Order when there's little evidence that supports that. But I guess it's still a possibility. But I think the fact that he learned from Sellia and saved Sellia at some point, which is a Nox-built town where at least 2 Nox lived, to me indicates that he wasn't working for the Golden Order in any way, because, like I said, the Nox are hated by the Golden Order, and he learned from a school they built, and some of them reside at, so I don't know about that one. But I suppose anything is possible. Now the next reason could be, could he have done it for his mom? Now his mom was famously used and abused by the Golden Order, basically through his own father, Radahn. Radahn was allowed to rule Caria and Liurnia with Renalla, and they had kids together. Radahn is one of them. But when Godfrey was kicked out of the lands between with all of his tarnish, Radahn was recalled by Queen Marika to be her second husband. Now I think Radahn might have been rubbed the wrong way by this, already maybe having had a bad relationship with his dad, which could have been why he revered Godfrey so much. But anyway, long ago his mom, and probably his dad too, had a hand in this, but they banned the use of the primeval current at the academy. But slowly over the many decades, the scholars and the many wizards and sorcerers at the academy slowly began to resent Renalla and the Carrion royal family for, dictating what they could learn and what they couldn't learn and all that. So at some point after the Night of Black Knives, or after the Shattering, the academy straight up rebelled against the Carrion families and imprisoned, Renalla in the library. Renalla came to power a long time ago using the moon to bewitch all of the other wizards and scholars at the academy. And she basically, turned them all away from the stars. And I believe included in all these stars that Radahn was holding back is at least a portion of the primeval current. So when it's held back, it's weakening sorcery as a whole. At least I believe. I could be wrong on all this. But it's weakening glintstone sorcery as a whole, not necessarily the lunar magic, since it draws from the moon. And I believe most Carrion sorceries sort of draw from the moon. And aside from the full moon sorceries, I believe Carrion sorceries themselves are sort of like a blend between the moon and the stars themselves. But since the academy was rebelling and they predominantly use glintstone sorcery and maybe even primeval current sorcery, it makes sense that, if Radahn was trying to help out his mom, he would imprison the stars and weaken sorcery as a whole, so that she may have an advantage. But again, that's a pretty shaky theory. I'm not too sold on that one either. No, I think the most likely reason he's holding back the stars is because I imagine he learned at some point, likely from the Nox at Sellia, what the Greater Will did to the Nox and destroyed the Eternal City and all that, sending Estelle down. Estelles are always called stars, specifically. And I think that's important. And Radahn himself is always cited as having saved Sellia, or as the hero of Sellia. I think the Greater Will or Golden Order at some point found out that the Nox were operating topside out of Sellia, and were going to send another star down to destroy him. And Radahn, being a demigod, likely found out about this in some way, as the whole of Caelid is his domain, and he showed up and quite literally held back the stars. Probably numerous falling star beasts and Astels that were coming to rain down upon Sellia and Caelid. At the end of the day, he was just protecting his lands from utter destruction because the Golden Order and the Greater Will had deemed it, necessary collateral damage, just to destroy the Nox. Now that theory in particular is my favorite, but there's one final reason he could have done it, and that's simply because he felt like it. But that itself can be broken down into two possible sub-reasons too. One could be to prove himself as a great and legendary warrior among the likes of Godfrey. Maybe even to one-up Godfrey, because Godfrey never did anything like that. I mean, he conquered pretty much the entirety of the lands between on his own, but never waged war on the stars. I guess he never got the chance because, America robbed him of his grace and all that. But the other sub-reason could be that he wanted to conquer his own fate, quite literally. It's always said that the stars guided the fate of the Carrion royal family and all that, but it appears they've been long since hijacked by the moons. Anyway, Radahn waging war on the stars could be, him quite literally conquering his own fate. Like, it's always said that the Carrion's fate was in the hands of the stars, and he's conquering the stars to show, nope, I'm in control of my own fate. Which is admirable in my opinion. But anyway, for whatever the reason he was holding back the stars, he managed to still hold them back passively after losing his mind in the fight against Malenia. Which is, again, impressive to say the least. I mean, he'd gone all animalistic and cannibalistic and scarlet rot infected. But then again, I guess that's what happens when your body is ground zero for a rot nuke. Anyway, that was my quick little video. Let me know if I got anything wrong or anything like that. I love when that happens. I hope you found the video informative. If you like my videos in general, please consider subscribing. And the next video will be out either tomorrow or the next day. I'm finally back on track. Have a good one. See ya.